I'm going to talk to you this evening about courageous leadership and how to own your own voice within that. So that's me. Who am I? I'm Serena, founder of a company called Prosper, and we are a social enterprise, so we help women and girls to progress through their professional and personal development journeys. I'm also a mother of two crazy children and two very even more crazy dachshunds. If anyone's got dachshunds as dogs, they're a nightmare crazy breed and they keep me on my toes. I've been told I have to say this by my football fan of a husband, that I'm married to a Norwich City supporter, so if anyone supports Ipswich, you can feel free to boo him right now. We're getting on camera, so Matthew Fordham, we're booing you all right now here in Ipswich. So that's me. I do have a love of anything English, so I was very not the mathematician. English was my bag, so writing, reading, journaling, anything like that involved kind of communicating was always my bag. But I'm going to take you through a little bit of my journey today with some very embarrassing photos of myself that I found, so I hope you enjoy it, and then with a little bit at the end to tell you my perspective on finding your voice in leadership. So yes, that's me. I found some of the least embarrassing photos, but basically growing up, my three main loves were my family, animals, and being creative. So basically, I would always either be outside holding my rabbit, or I think I was following, or so my mum tells me, I was following a pigeon around the garden for 3 days, and then unfortunately I put it in a box to help it and it died. So I didn't do too well. I did want to be a vet when I was that age, and maybe the pigeon experience was the reason that I didn't end up becoming that. But so that's my mum there. She's my best friend, and my family was always the centre of my world. The animals, as I grew up as a teenager, I worked in a animal shelter, helping on weekends and things like that. But the creativity was really what drove me through childhood. I was always making things, crafting, painting, you name it. And one of my earliest memories was when I was about 10 years old, and I was around my cousin's house, and basically they weren't allowed hamsters. My auntie said, no, definitely not having hamsters. So I decided to go to Asda with my mum and get some cotton wool balls and make little hamsters, and I took them to my cousins and they were so overjoyed, and I'd made a little sort of shoebox cage for them and everything, and I was so delighted of how happy I'd made my cousins that I went home and made lots more, put them in a shoebox and took them to the school playground. So I was 10 at the time, and I sold them for 50p a pop, which, at the time, for a bag of cotton wool balls, I didn't make that bad a profit. So even back then, at the age of 10, I was an entrepreneur in the making, and I've always wanted to be creative and make other people happy while making a living as well. Oh, the next pictures are really even more embarrassing. But right, okay, so we're getting this on camera, so I'll be showing my kids and they'll be in hysterics when they watch this. But yeah, so this was me growing up. As you can imagine, and we all know, my daughter was age 12 at the time in that first photo, and I lost my confidence a bit when I went to high school. I really struggled. I lost a lot of my friends, from junior school, went to a different school, so I was quite lonely, and I'd really sort of lost my voice and lost my confidence in who I wanted to be. I got bullied quite a lot. It was a really difficult time for me, but as I progressed with that second photo towards year 11, even though right now I don't feel I look much better, but I seem slightly happier, I did find subjects that I enjoyed. I really enjoyed business studies, economics, but English and art and drama were very much where I saw my passions. And I really, even though I loved school, I still had the bit of the bullying, and I was still sort of in that phase where I wasn't quite sure who I was and what I wanted to be when I grew up, or what I wanted to achieve. So it was a really sort of strange time, but I progressed from just enjoying business and economics to that being my main focus. And as I went to towards the degree stage through A-levels and degree, I really thrived at being in that business environment, and I studied business management as a degree. There's my photo of my graduation, but it wasn't smooth sailing, because even though I was very proud of my degree, I wasn't able to get into the university that I wanted. So back sort of going from sixth form to college is where I studied my degree, and I was almost ashamed that I didn't get into the university I wanted. But now looking back, and hindsight is very much a fine thing, it was a lot cheaper for one, because I studied at a local college, and I did come out with a UEA degree, which was the uni I wanted to go to in the first place. So actually I got the same end result, but for a lot less money and a lot smaller class size. So I did well out of that, and I realised that actually it worked out for the best. So sometimes when things don't seem at the time that they're going right, it's usually when you're out of that bad experience and that problematic time, you'll realise that it was the best thing for your journey and the best thing to get you to where you want to go. So moving on, here was where this was an interesting year. This was 2008, and I really look like I'm having a really good time, but I just started working as an estate agent after over 100 job interviews. Bearing in mind I had four jobs in different industries while I was at college studying my degree. So I had a wide range of experience and a good business knowledge from my studies, but I still struggled with the recession at the time, getting a job, and I landed as an estate agent. And here, even though I look at this picture and it makes me really sad, because I know deep down, even though I was at a party and enjoying myself, I developed an eating disorder, exercise addiction. I was working 60, 70 plus hours a week. The estate agency world was full of parties, clubs, bars, all of that nightlife as well, and I was literally living on Red Bull and Pro Plus to get me through this time. So it makes me quite sad, but it's nice now that I look back at that and I can realise how far I've come on my journey from that person there that might look like she had it all together, and from the outside and other people, you know, I had the fancy company car and the good salary, but I was absolutely exhausted and really struggling. So it's a reminder that, as I said a moment ago, sometimes when you're in bad situations and struggling situations, you can't see the light out of them, but actually there's always options and there's always things that can be done. And when you move on, you then realise how significant an impact that period can have in shaping the rest of your life. I also, at this time, I got married, so I was only 21, so I met my ex-husband when I was 19, and that, with all the pressure of our jobs and various other issues, our marriage only lasted 18 months, and at that point, in 2011, things changed for me, and I knew I had to make a change, not just within the toxic career I was in, but also the toxic relationship I was in as well, and the difficult personal situation there also. And then I met this lovely soul. This is the one, Matthew Fordham, the guy I said to you about earlier, who's a Norwich fan. we had another very whirlwind relationship. If someone had said to me after 5 months of knowing a man that they were going to have a baby with him, I would have thought, what are you doing? And I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. But for me, it just felt right at the time. And so I was only just divorced, and I dated Matthew. We met through family. We married in 2013, had our daughter in 2012, and our son after lots of struggle with infertility and problems with pregnancies, and we had our son in 2016 to complete our family. So this was the beautiful situation that came out of such a toxic, abusive and manipulative relationship. So at the time, while I was that party girl, I didn't realise that there would be a light at the end of the tunnel, and I can make that positive change, and I can use my voice to articulate what I want from my life, and I can make change comes from me, and I was the only one that could do that. And so even though, as I said to my colleague Sandra, and friend, should I say, colleague and friend Sandra earlier, Matthew wasn't necessarily my hero. I was the hero of my story. It just meant that at the time I'd made the decision that I was going to be happy, and I wasn't going to be taken for granted, not from a man, not from bosses of my career, anything like that. So yeah, I was that heroine of my own story, because I was the one who decided to make that change and use my voice to change my story for the better. Next slide. So just after I was married to Matthew in 2013, I was made redundant. So that was a massive kick in the teeth. You know, we'd had our first child, we were really happy, but she ate a lot, so we had even though I say a little mouth to feed, the stomach was huge. So it was costly. She drank a bottle for any sort of mums or anyone in the room who's had children. She had a bottle every hour, a full bottle, which is just crazy, and she still eats like that now. But so I decided that I wasn't, the redundancy, I just used it, even though it was awful, because I needed food on the table and a roof over my head, and to help Matthew actually by contributing to our household and the bills, etc. I knew I wanted a job as well for my freedom and to have a career as well as a family. But I didn't want to go through that application rejection cycle that I'd been through all them years previous. So I just decided to set up my own company. So I set up a virtual assistance agency, which I sold a few years ago. But this picture was actually a posh pyjama party that a women's network that I took over had about a month into taking it on in 2015. So and this network grew to what Prosper is today. So we ran lots of different types of events to test what worked and what didn't, and just had real fun doing it. And I felt so lucky that people were coming to events and supporting me as a businesswoman at the time through the Women's Network and through the virtual assistance company. It was all word of mouth because I was doing a good job, and I was getting recognised for the good work that I was doing, rather than being put down and taken advantage of how I was in my previous career. So I really started to shine and understand what made me happy, not just at home but also through work as well. And I think that's really important, because you can choose jobs that you think will make you happy, or your parents would like you to do, or that will make you lots of money, or give you a posh car, house, whatever. I had those things when I was an estate agent, and I was really unhappy. So I think it's really important to progress in the subjects that you enjoy, but also go on your own journey in terms of career, because that will ultimately shape how your future is and the enjoyment you get out of work too. So moving on, these are just a few pictures of me having fun really. I spoke, this was actually, this first one was at an event in 2023 called Climb. It's a big conference with investors and entrepreneurs that takes place in Leeds every year. I hosted a panel there, and it was so much fun, but actually it was the last event I spoke at up until today, so I'm kind of getting back on the horse today, and I'll tell you why in a moment. That's just a picture of with Prosper and the team and myself. We've won multiple awards for coaching, leadership, strategic management, bless you, and lots of different things. So I'm super proud of the team, but also super proud of me for leading them through chaos at times. And yes, as I said before, we run a lot of big events, festivals, and we partner with events on events with different organisations to support women of all ages to progress their own journey and support them in their development. So this was why I haven't spoken until today for sort of a couple of years, is in 2023, at the end of that year there where I spoke at that event, I fell from a climbing wall and I slipped a disc. Now, if anyone has had a slip disc and or family members with a slip disc, friends, you know it's quite painful, but unfortunately mine developed over months into something called cauda equina, which means that my disc was totally blocking my sciatic nerve. So that's the nerves at the bottom of my spine, and basically for 5 days I was completely paralysed from the waist down. So I had no control over anything from my tummy downwards. So that was a real shock, and I had to have emergency surgery for that. So you can imagine me, I've progressed, I worked up in my career in the estate agency, I was made redundant, I then found my groove and my flow with this events company and coaching and supporting women with what Prosper does. I was kind of in the groove, I suppose, and then suddenly my world was just completely broken apart, and it was a big shock for me as a person. And the staff sort of took on all of the workload, and over the last year I've literally just spent really finding myself and who I really am again, without Prosper and without business and without all those titles that you have. So you know, you have I'm a mum, I'm a wife, I'm a business owner, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, all of those things. I had to learn last year who Serena really was. So 2024 was a year of complete self-care, sleeping a lot, being very high on morphine a lot for pain. You know, don't recreational, that's not what I'm advocating. But I really looked after myself. I rested when I need to. That's my youngest puppy, bless her, Belle, who's coming up for a year old. And lots of cuddles with them, and obviously the children as well. And that was my first trip at Winter Wonderland in Norwich the end of last year with my friends, and I was in my wheelchair for the first time. So having to come to terms with suddenly having a disability and completely having to change and adapt my life and come to terms with who I was without all of the other stuff was a really eye-opening experience. But that time was really crucial and really kind of made me appreciate who I am and know what makes me happy in life. So that's us now. That's me in my hoodie, which I got dressed today, so you know, all is good. It's a choice, by the way. I do love pyjamas. As you saw, we had events with pyjamas, and yeah, I'm pretty much a pyjama hoodie kind of girl. But that's Ella, who's now 12 and at high school herself, so maybe similar age to some of you here, and Alfie, who's 8, and they give me a lot of joy, and I really, I don't live my life solely for them, but I also want them to grow up to be kind and respectful and have all of those personal traits and characteristics that are important, and also encourage them to use their voice and speak up and speak out for others, and follow their own paths. Ella is naturally creative like I used to be, whereas Alfie is just kicking a ball in the garden, and you know what, if those things make them happy, then I'm happy for them to follow those as their career paths, and them to be happy in whatever they do in life, rather than worry about money or cars or what other people think of them, their status, etc., because that's not what made me happy. This is on our wall in my porch, just as a reminder that, for whatever you believe, some might believe differently, but I believe you only have one life, you only get one go at it, and obviously with my accident and my injury and the surgery and my ongoing medical issues, it's really reminded me that life is very much for living, and we need to make mistakes, you know, in order to progress on your journey and progress in life. You need to have the challenging times, you need to have the times where things don't go to plan, external factors might stop your plans, but there's always, if you don't try, you'll never know, and that's really important. So this is just a reminder to kind of keep going, even when things aren't easy, and to take those chances, because you won't get another chance. So just a quick summary about the challenges. A lot of actually this Sam spoke about, so I won't drag on, but the challenges in the workplace and within female leaders in sort of the business entrepreneur world, a lot of it comes down to these two factors really, time and money. So when it comes to time, usually women have less time than men. It could be at your ages with periods, or you know, problems with skin, or problems with medical issues just related to girls, whatever that can be. Difficulties with friends, complexities there compared to your male peers. So there's a lot of different time challenges, and as you get older, then childcare comes into play, caring for parents and elderly relatives. So a lot of extra responsibilities that tradition and society and religion and politics and all those things put on women, that mean that we're more time poor than men, and therefore it's a struggle. For example, for today, I'm staying over in Ipswich tonight, and for that I had to pack all the kids' bags. I had to sort out a list of what the dogs were eating, make sure that there was the school uniforms and everything there, and my husband is at home tonight. So, you know, there are things that I felt I needed to do, or society has put on me as a woman to prepare my family for me going away, that maybe I didn't need to do. He probably would be capable enough, but I'm sure he's happy that I did do them. And the money side of things, when it comes to lack of female funding, and less than 2% of female founders get funded by venture capital firms, so that's a big issue. Women often get overlooked for grants in comparison to men, so there's a lot of different issues in the business world, but also what Sam said about the gender pay gap, doing similar jobs but getting paid different amounts, etc. So there's a lot of money poverty there as well. So, but there are plenty of opportunities as we go forward, and as Sam said, there's things like AI and those sort of things, but also there's communities out there, supportive events like this. Women who are talking to you today are more than happy to share advice and knowledge and experience for free. You know, there's a lot of different organisations out there that are willing to help and guide you along your journey. So it's really important to use your voice and speak out if you need help, or if you have a question, or you want advice on a certain career path, whatever that may be. There's always people there. You just have to ask, you just have to look for it. Entrepreneurship is also a big opportunity. There's a lot more women, especially after COVID-19 pandemic, that have moved into running their own businesses. There's a lot of flexible learning and training opportunities, including on-the-job training, apprenticeships, that kind of thing, and also home working and hybrid working and more flexible working arrangements around family and childcare, etc. as well. So lots of different opportunities to lead in the workplace coming as we go forward. I just want to end with a little bit of advice that I would give to my younger self, and that I also give to my children as well, is be true to yourself. As I said before, you could do a career because your mum wants you to be a doctor, or you could fly aeroplanes because that's what your dad wants, or your tutor says that you're good at French, so you're gonna go and teach French somewhere. That's probably a bad example, but whatever that may be, that won't necessarily make you happy. That might make your relative happy, or your tutor happy, or your teacher happy. But you've really got to follow your own passions and your own path, because ultimately, making yourself happy, and you're the one that's got to live your life through the duration, and you will be with yourself through the duration of your life. Secondly, things will always work out. I don't know how, it's like magic sometimes. I don't know how, looking back on my life, as you can see, I've kind of gone up and down, backwards and forwards a lot, but somehow things do just work out, and with the support of others and the support of each other here, things will just naturally, you will always come out of a bad time, and the bad things will always pass by, and you'll always overcome the challenges. And lastly, and probably most importantly, is to speak out and seek support. So if you are having a challenging time, if you're not sure about where to go next, if you're feeling a bit lost or a little bit isolated, just tell someone. Keeping it inside, believe me, I've done it for quite a few years in the past. Keep things inside, and then it's amazing how once you talk about them to someone else who might have had the same experiences, or you know, might understand your situation, there is that thing about a problem shared is a problem halved. So always speak out, and speak out for yourself, and also if you see others struggling, then speak out for them if they can't themselves, and help them as well, because that's how we all get through together. Yeah, just want to end saying thank you, especially to you all for listening, and to Georgie for putting up with me here, and St Joseph's. And there's our website if you want to jot it down or memorise it, take a picture of it, whatever you want to do, to find out more about how we support women and girls with their professional and personal development. And that's my book if you want to find any more about me or delve a little bit more into my story. So yeah, that's everything.